or to the same suggestion via a channel member. Let's check it out.
Tensions between the United States and Venezuela continue to rise over the deployment of American warships and fighter jets in the southern Caribbean. Last week, the U.S. launched airstrikes on several vessels in the region, killing over a dozen alleged drug traffickers. Venezuela's authoritarian socialist president, Nicolás Maduro, has denied his government is involved in drug trafficking and has called for the mobilization of civilians to defend the country from what he calls U.S. aggression.
I mean, whose money is keeping you in power? Like, listen, guys, we have a massive issue specifically south of our border where there are individuals who are in power basically by the funds of some of these cartels, okay? That is we need to kind of come to that realization and kind of understand that that is like legitimately a thing. I hear you, Maduro, but I just don't believe it.
Amid increasing tensions with the United States, Venezuela's military held a so-called encounter with the people on the streets of Caracas. Dozens of armored vehicles paraded through the capital, and civilians were given a chance to handle rifles and anti-aircraft guns. Following the U.S. strikes on alleged smuggling boats, Venezuelan officials have called for a show of resistance.
Us?
There isn't a fisherman from any Caribbean island who goes out to fish and doesn't feel that a death sentence has been imposed without trial by the imperialists. They threaten, but we remain calm, with nerves of steel, calm and composed, with maximum popular mobilization and organization. Training sessions like these have become increasingly common since U.S. warships took up positions near Venezuelan waters a month ago. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro says President Trump is plotting to overthrow him and has called on a massive recruitment drive for the national militia. Many seem to be answering that call. For all Venezuelans, this training is very important because it helps us collaborate with our country, our president, with all who love our country and wish the best for everyone. Have you ever held a weapon? I haven't had the chance, but I think that at this point we have to start taking up arms to defend our country.
Bro, Maduro is going to get a lot of people injured, guys. And basically what we're looking at here, that's exactly what's going to happen here. Here's the thing, though. I understand. Listen, Venezuela is a sovereign nation, okay? Facts, no issues here. They have the right to do whatever they need to do to feel, to defend themselves if they feel as if they need to defend themselves. I do not see this as being beneficial, but again, I am also not against someone lying down when there's a gigantic force kind of near, if that makes any sense here. So I get it. This is just a show of strength. Then that's basically it here. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do anything if that actually happens, but it won't happen because we need to have like open conversations kind of about that, right? I mean, the American public would know that we have now decided to go to, for the most part, war with Venezuela, and we have not had this conversation.
There's plenty of defiant words and patriotic fervor on display in Caracas. But despite the push for mass mobilization, experts say Venezuela's military is still leagues behind its rival, the United States.
And for more, let's go to DW correspondent Oscar Schlenker. Oscar, is all of this only a show of strength from Maduro, or is it a meaningful escalation of Venezuela's defensive posture?
Well, we have to determine who the audience for this show of strength is. This is no threat to the military force that the U.S. poses against Venezuela.
Zero.
So this show of force is catered to a domestic audience and perhaps to allies across the region and beyond. What we have seen is that Maduro's regime is actually struggling to keep unity within his spaces. Their requests for civilians to enlist in the military have not really been answered with the masses they expected. And local media has published information that some high-ranking officials have started to abandon Venezuela. But the best evidence is what Reuters published yesterday. Nicolás Maduro sent a letter to Trump asking him to settle their differences through the U.S. envoy Richard Grenell, who had visited Caracas a few months ago and negotiated a deal to free American prisoners from there. So that's a different direction from what we're seeing from these videos.
Now, Venezuela's socialist President Maduro says the country is more united than ever. You hinted at that, but how much of that is political messaging and how much support does he really have in the country?
Let's say 80-20.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the political messaging. There is a lot of discontent and fear of Nicolás Maduro's regime. And that fear has been intensified since last year's presidential election that is widely believed to have been stolen. Just yesterday, the United Nations fact-finding mission published their report about Venezuela with key findings on systematic repression, grave human rights violations, crimes against humanity in Venezuela. And these findings show a notable impact on women, children, journalists, and human rights defenders, as well as severe restrictions on civic spaces and freedom of expression in Venezuela. So I would say, as a Venezuelan journalist myself, my own bias, that unity under these conditions is impossible or very hard to believe.
Yeah, guys, it's nearly impossible. Like, I fully agree with what he's saying here. You have to kind of go there, right, or not go there, right? If you've been there, if you've experienced Venezuela for kind of what it is, you'll kind of start to realize that, guys, there are issues here. There are issues here, just like there are issues in other places, but this tends to be just a little bit worse. Let's just say this year, Maduro's basically big fear of President Trump coming into Venezuela to kind of remove his throne, because that's basically how he treats it, right? Is there some basis in truth here? It could be, right? It could be some basis, because again, you did steal that election, bro. Right? You did that. I mean, like, if you want to talk about election theft, let's look at Venezuela immediately, because that's what it actually looks like, guys. Okay, now who's surprised that there's not a gigantic line of people that are rushing to the aid of the country that has done all of these absolute heinous things to its people? Don't be surprised, guys. Don't get me wrong here. There are going to be some people who love the dictator, if that makes any sense here. Just like in Spain, Franco, there are a good amount of people that supported Franco specifically, and they still support Franco to right now, right? And to this day and age, right now. Okay, Hitler's buddy, right? They still support him and love all of his messaging and ideologies and et cetera, et cetera. So there are some people who are just for the dictator. All right. And those are the ones most likely that are rushing to the aid specifically to protect the country in some type of like nationalist event. Right. But the masses have no interest in this. Like, if they had the ability to literally leave Venezuela, they would run from Venezuela as fast as they possibly can, guys. But all right.
Now, why are tensions between Washington and Caracas flaring up so sharply right now?
Well, this has been building up for years, even before Trump came to power. The tensions between Venezuela and the U.S. has left a geopolitical void in the region that has been filled by Russia and China. And I believe the U.S. feels safer having friends in the region. But also, it has to do with the authoritarian regime against civilians in Venezuela. In the past year, we have seen a grave human rights violations, as I mentioned, and a mounting economic crisis that has impoverished millions. And that has resulted in mass migration, the biggest one in South America's history. And that has affected the entire region, including the U.S.
Now, how real do you think, briefly if you can, is the risk of a wider military confrontation?
They wouldn't dare.
Well, experts don't believe a wider military confrontation is going to affect the region at this moment. I don't think that there is any intention of it either. We have seen that in the past few years, the region is shifting politically, and that always results in conflict. But I don't believe there will be a intervention other than pressure we are seeing against key criminal activity like the drug trafficking.
Right. Yeah, like guys, if it had the ability to affect us, then we have a problem with it. That's why we're there. And I think everyone needs to kind of understand that. Hopefully they do. The reason why we're even there is to fix the issue, attempt to fix the issue, or put a Band-Aid at least on the issue that is affecting our country, right? You have something in your country, all those miles away that's affecting us. So we're going to fix that. We're going to make a solid attempt to fix that. Same reason why there's so many troops on the southern border right now, trying to quell specifically any type of cartel advancement, guys. Okay. But all right, listen, guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I do think that this is all just a show of force. Let me just kind of put a pin on this here, button on, for example. This is just a show of force. They're trying to show that Maduro's government to the people, they still have something, right? They're still there. They're still present. They're still trying to, protect the nation. But in all actuality, people in Venezuela, large scale, have no interest. And if they had the ability, they would leave. Okay, truth be told. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.